This episode of the Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort is the perfect place to spend a game day weekend. With gaming, golf, dining, entertainment, and more, there's no better place to stay and play. Today's episode rundown is brought to you by Legacy Credit Union. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. The Inferno starts now. Woo. Trent Dilfer will join us here in just a few minutes. Mark Ingram, the UAB athletic director. You got a little burr under your saddle today. You're a little spry.
Yeah.
Was it a 2 martini lunch or 3?
Well, we're not going to talk about that yet, Tony.
Okay, it was a 4. UAB sports update. We'll get into that. Here comes the Green Wave 3 and 2 at Protective Stadium. And, of course, all in the family or all in Trent Dilfer's family, or all in Mark Ingram's family, or all in Tony Curry's family. We'll go all in the family, Archie Bunker style, a little bit later on the show right here. And again, brought to you by the fine folks at Legacy Credit Union. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. What's going on with them gold and green booger bears? Get out to athletics all around the horn coming up here next.
Trent Dilfer here, head football coach of the UAB Blazers. I want to tell you about my friends at Legacy Credit Union. Legacy began as University Credit Union in 1955 and remains committed to UAB faculty, students, alumni, and fans. Not only do they support the Birmingham community, but they are also proud sponsors of UAB and UAB athletics. Visit legacycreditunion.com and find out why you should become a member today.
Andy Kennedy, he is the head coach of the UAB Blazers basketball team. I
That's
cannot wait for them to. By the way, Eric Gaines, is he coming back or not?
No, sir.
No, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. I read something this morning before I got it because I like to do a lot of prep here for the Inferno. I want to know what I'm talking about, but I had read somewhere that he may be back, and I'm like, what?
Where'd you read that?
I don't want to say now because I don't want to throw this.
Okay, maybe I need to check on
it. It wasn't bro.
Not to my knowledge.
It wasn't bro Bible. We got basketball coming up, and so Andy Kennedy will be joining us here in the studio. And now you'd think that we'd have Andy in during the football season and then Trent in during the basketball season because they're busy, but not UAB. They're top of the line. They're like, hey, listen, we got to make this happen. And I do want to thank Trent Dilfer for joining us this past Saturday on ABC's 3340. He had 11 o'clock kickoff, and we were actually on to 11 o'clock. We have a deal going on with SEC football because ABC now covers that, but he was fantastic on ABC's 3340 this morning. I asked the question, what's the hardest job you've ever had? And he said, he goes, I don't think anyone's ever asked that question. And I may rephrase that question when he joins us a little bit later on in the show.
What did he say?
He said the UAB job is the hardest job he's ever had.
Yeah.
I said high school coach. I didn't throw in being a dad because we know being a dad's the hardest thing.
You just have a lot more constituents
but,
at the college
professional
level.
football.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a lot of jobs.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just different kinds of hard. Like being a pro athlete, the exercise is hard, the competition is hard. But you don't have to worry about fans or faculty or, you know what I mean, ownership or administration or, boards or whatever, fundraising. There's none of that.
This week in Blazers Athletics, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Why don't we?
Love that place.
Do you have that thing done yet? We're
So
going down
good.
there, aren't we? Are we going down there and rolling some bones? Mm-hmm. My name is Tone the Bone. I can roll some bones now.
I would lose at everything that we play.
You just hang with me and we'll be fine. You just let me have your
We'll
wallet.
serve
Let me have your wallet, and I will give you a 300% return by next Tuesday.
Okay, good enough.
All right. Let's talk about this week in Blazers Athletics. What's been going on down there in the South
I want to tell you something. David Lilly, our new men's soccer coach, beat Louisville on the road last week. We are currently ranked 3rd in the conference in his first year. I know I've talked about that here on the show before. I'm so happy for him. He's such a good guy, and he's doing such a great job. We finished dead last. We did not win one game last year. We're currently in 3rd place in the conference with basically the same team. And, again, when you're around him, you just can't help but love the guy. And Lisa Mann, our ladies coach, she's got us in 4th place, so they're playing well, and I'm really excited about that. That's been a lot of fun. So volleyball's got a game Friday night. Then, of course, we got the Tulane game at high noon on Saturday.
Yeah, and obviously Tulane, they've lost 2 games, but the 2 reputable,
2 big-time opponents, and they were in the games.
In Oklahoma,
you know.
yeah, they were. And I think I actually had them. I have a pick line. I think I had them plus the points in the K-State game. So they came up a little short, but yeah, another formidable foe, and we're going to have Trent coming in here in just a few minutes. So we'll talk about exactly what.
Yeah, they're explosive. You know, like throw it deep. They got a quarterback who's pretty elusive, so hard to get on the ground. So, yeah, it's going to be a great test.
My 12-year-old daughter got me up this morning. She goes, "You doing the Inferno today?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Tell Mr. Trent and tell Mr. Mark." I said, "Hi." And I said, "Well, my daughter Lila,
nice.
she wanted to know if you had
Lila.
anything going on around the Halloween." Because Halloween, tomorrow starts October 1st. We're recording the show on the last day of September. She goes, "Do they do anything around Halloween?
Should we dress up?
Can we trick or treat at Protective?" Well,
Maybe we should dress up.
Yeah.
We do some things. Our student athletes do some trunk or treats.
Okay.
We do some of that stuff that we mainly do and promote primarily in that Glen Iris neighborhood.
Good.
So we do. That's part of a little bit of a give back community service project that we do. But yeah, we do some of that. I don't think you're going to see anybody go to work in their Dracula, costume. I don't think, but we'll see.
And by the way, I saw the piece. I think it was on Channel 13 prior to the Navy game with the kids. That was super cool. Seeing that piece about it, just I mean,
Yeah,
I
so
just
Smile
love
a
that.
Mile.
I love the Smile a Mile thing. It's just killer. It's
It
just great.
is. Yeah, Smile a Mile, a great organization right here in Birmingham. They're about a block from Children's Hospital. We started this last year, and Trent's really got an interest in doing community service projects. He loved what we were already doing with Children's Harbor. And then we have a number of our donors and fans who are involved in Smile a Mile. We were doing a lot of community service. Our student athletes were with Smile a Mile. They've got a summer camp out near Lake Martin where they take these kids and their siblings. That's one of the unique things about them. They are also family support. You got kids in the hospital, obviously, who need our care and our prayers. But their families, visiting for a month at a time, and they've got a little brother or a sister or whatever there with them. And so they try to do some things to help, support those kids, the siblings, which is really unique and important. I mean, they've got a washer and a dryer that mom and dad get here and they're like, "Man, I just need to do some laundry." They've got an exercise room for the parents to clear their head and get on a treadmill, and they've got a movie room, and they got places where they do arts and crafts with these kids. And so it's not just the patients. It's the whole family, which is really, really cool. So in a similar fashion, we had the names of these young people on the back of our jerseys the other day. We'll wear them one more time, and then we'll give them at the end of the season to those kids, which is really meaningful. There was 350 people from whether it's the patients, their families, and others from that organization that were at the game the other day, having a great time. They did the high five tunnel, like when the team runs out, they're, high fiving the players. And, that's a thrill of a lifetime.
Keep doing the good work, man. It's fantastic. It was a great piece. And go Blazers for all the hard work they do there. We're going to bring a smile to your face coming up here next because Coach Trent Dilfer will be in the studio for the Inferno.
The if in life, it's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends, if you can keep an eye on your money along the way. If you know you have overdraft protection with no fee transfers from savings, when you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank embrace the if in life.
Today's Coach's Corner brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health, and he is in the studio. Mr. Trent Dilfer's in the studio. Am I the only one?
Is this live now?
Yeah,
or are you practicing?
Everything's live.
No, do it again. I thought you were just
No, we're here.
yammering
No,
on.
that's it. We're on.
No.
Pepsi and Viva Health. Coach, how you doing?
Are you really going to do this like this?
Yeah. It's a podcast. This is what we do here.
Like right there,
All right.
people just tuned in. I like it.
Exactly.
I like it. See, I always thought the best TV, the best radio, the best podcasts were when you had a conversation and people were like, are they know they're on TV?
Yeah, I don't
do they
know.
know they're on radio? Like, and we would do these focus groups at ESPN, and people would say that. They'd be like, I like it when they're just talking to one another, and I'm not sure if they know it's actually being recorded or not.
So I have this podcast called I got this.
It's good TV.
I got this podcast called Students of the Game. It's these 3 college kids that talk about college football, right? And so they get
Oh,
in.
that's a good idea.
Their show's like 45 minutes long. And so I usually leave the studio, and I'll come in after about the 45-minute mark. And so I come in the other night, and they're talking, and they're rapping, they're dropping F-bombs, and they're just cutting up on each other. And
it's
teasing
being
each other.
recorded.
And it's great. Yeah, I record everything. And so I can't tell if they're doing the show or they're finished. And so finally, one of the guys looks down, he's got his head down. So I said, you guys done? He's like, yeah, dude, we've been done for 15 minutes. We're just talking. And I said, this is golden here. This is great stuff. I said, you guys ripping on each other was fantastic.
Well, what do you think Pat McAfee's the biggest thing in TV right now? Because that's what he does. He sits there and he chops it up with his buddies. He's really smart. He's charismatic.
Yeah, and I got a mouth on me. I'm a radio guy, but we don't need to be dropping F-bombs.
No, I'm not saying that part of it. I'm just saying the temperament of the show, and it was created this way, was just, hey, a bunch of us are sitting around talking about things that other people are talking about. Let's let him in on the show.
And he knows what he's talking about.
He does.
You know, you can do whatever you want. You can be goofy and funny and stay on the table and take your shirt off and do all that stuff. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't get any of my respect. But he knows what he's talking about when it comes to football. So you got to give it to him. He does good. And I think even Coach Nick Saban's starting to get used to him a little bit, sitting next to him.
Well, he's respected by people that are respected. That's the other thing too. Like when you have your Schefters and your Sabans, and the people that come on his show are people that everybody in the industry respects. I mean, that's a lot of gravitas for him.
Speaking of College Game Day, you were on our show on ABC 3340 this past week. Thank you very much for joining us on the starting lineup.
You
We're
looked
from
really
10:30
good.
11 o'clock.
Did I?
You look fantastic.
The shorts was a tough, like I walk in there and they're in slacks and I had shorts on. I was a little self-conscious.
We got to be the host.
It might have helped.
We have to kind of look good.
But I didn't, you see, I kind of was insecure. Now you're making it worse. I got a lot of insecurities right now, Mark. I don't need my AD to make it worse.
You were fantastic. We did ask you the question, what's the hardest job you've ever had? That was an email that I got through Tony Curry Radio, info at Tony Curry Radio, and you mentioned that the UAB job was probably the most difficult thing you've done to this point. It may be a little bit more difficult after this past week, but I will tell you this, I consider us friends, despite the fact that I don't know a lot about you. We haven't had dinner yet, but we will, and I know Mark. I've known Mark for a long time. I'm also a host of this podcast, and not to mention a host of a lot of other shows on Tony Curry Radio and the Inferno here. But more than anything, I'm a fan. And I love what you're doing, and I love you as a person, and I love you as a Christian, and I love you as a family man, and so that's where I'm coming from today as we talk about what's going on with the UAB football team. Obviously, things aren't right, and we're not winning at the clip we want to, and so I am not a bitch and moan guy. I'm let's fix it guy. So tell me what we're trying to do
Molly,
to
you're
fix
going to have
it.
to edit that out.
No, this is
it's
not
a family show.
Tell me what we're doing to fix it. That's all I want to know.
Well, I mean, every week it seems like you try to fix something and then something else creeps up. And that's part of the hard, and I think hard's a good thing. I think too often we interpret when something's hard as everybody goes, oh, that's a bad thing. No, I think some of the best things come out of hard situations. It's hard to redo a roster in 21 months, right? And Mark saw it from jump, like, hey, make it your program. Well, okay. Well, then different types of players, different backgrounds, different temperaments, different size metrics, different traits, different coaching styles. Like, it was really hard to move on from that defensive structure that had been so successful. But it's not what we do. It's not what we know. It's not what we'd recruited. And they no longer had players that could run that mint structure. For those that don't understand, that odd structure defense. So we moved into a 4-down world because that's the type of players that we were able to recruit. Yeah. Offensively, you're talking about a team that was a run, 2 protections, some play action pass into a pro style. So that was hard, teaching them new ways of playing football. Again, the other style is a very good style. Yeah. It wasn't our style, right? So there's those challenges.
Can you explain real quick, back it up, because I've had several people ask me this question, and obviously I've been doing radio long. Decipher, tell me what's the difference between this regular style and the pro style. When people say we're going to have a pro look, what does that mean?
Multiplicity. It starts with run concepts, pass protection concepts, route concepts. Like we're asking them. So last week was our lowest volume play call sheet, and we had 120-ish plays up. Wow. We've gone into games with 200 plays. The old regime would go in with 40 plays. So you're asking learning. Yeah. We teach, one of our philosophies is immersion. So we immerse them into a large volume of learning. Let's call it, on a scale of 1 to 10, we give them a 9. And we don't our philosophy is that kids can learn more than we give them credit for. So if you give them a 9 amount of information, if it falls back to a 6, well, that's a lot more than a 3.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just teaching 3, 2, 3, 4. They're teaching 5th grade math. We're trying to teach them calculus. Now, if they do algebra out of it, we'll be successful. Same philosophy I used in high school. So that's hard. You know, just the challenges of Group of 5 football. Everybody, it's hard, right? You're recruiting against Auburn and Alabama and Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Georgia, and Vanderbilt's coming down. You're losing players to Vanderbilt. And, you know, so you go through whole recruiting cycles where whether it's portal or high school, and you're building your team with this vision of this player, and then the last second they go to somewhere else, and now I wouldn't call them leftovers, but now you have a different player that you're bringing into your program. So you got to make sure that the temperament of those players are the same. Now this is excuses. This makes it fun, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have injuries, and you lack depth at this level. So you're starting with one player, and then you're getting to a different player, and that player is probably a lesser talented player or younger. Maybe it's not talent; it's just age. Coach turnover, like this is something I don't talk a lot about because I think people take it as excuses, but I've lost 18 coaches to either Power 5 or the NFL. 18.
It's a lot.
In 20, it's almost once a month.
Yeah.
You know, I lose my chief analyst, the guy that's directly responsible with me, like my right-hand man, I lose him to the Titans in training camp this year. So I'm planning for him to come back. Next thing I know, he's coaching for the Titans. You know, there's offensive line coach to the Packers. I can go on and on and on. And, you know, so there's that attrition. So you're bringing new people in the building. You're having to teach them your ways. Well, great people. I wouldn't trade any of my people for anybody, but they're new. So they're learning new things. You know, it's a lot going on. And it's all what makes me wake up in the morning with the hair on my arm standing up. But it's all hard.
I told him, he asked me something about this, and I said, I think one of the things that's really hard too, you're talking football, and then I think there's just all these different constituent groups.
Yeah.
Like you got me, you got our department, you got the university, there's faculty, there's staff, there's institutional leadership, Alabama system, board of trustees, community, students. Like there's just all these different groups of people, right, that also layers in what makes all that.
So I think there's this feeling that fans out there think that coaches and players don't feel the pain of a loss. I'm here to tell you that it hurts.
People say that?
It's hard to believe. It's like, do they not care?
People
like
don't say
these
that.
players. Well, you know how fans are. Fans, you don't think these players, it's killing them. So how's your football team doing?
Yeah, and I didn't answer your question. I don't want to sound like our politicians where they never answer the question. The question, the answer, and I'll move on to your second question. The answer is you control what you can control. So if our depth of a route isn't right, you go back on teaching the depth of the route. If the not staying square and pass protection is good enough, you work on staying square. If not filling the C gap and using your hands is good enough, you just keep working on the things that you know are time tested and true to fix things. You just keep fixing on them. And then at the same time, you got this dynamic when you're losing, right? Whether you're 4-8 or 1-3. The dynamic, as I explained it to my building yesterday, was we all just got shipwrecked in the middle of the Atlantic. We're all sitting out in the ocean, right? And we're going to drown if we stay in the ocean. And then there's these lifeboats that are kind of hanging out there. But the problem with the lifeboats is they're going out. And there's this island that you see that you got to swim against the current, but you got to go get on the island to save your life. So you're dead if you stay in the water. You're dead eventually if you go on the lifeboat because it's taking you out and you're going to die of starvation, dehydration, or the sun's going to kill you. But we can stay alive if we all get to the island. Okay, so let's swim to the island. Who wants to swim to the island? Everybody raises their hand. Here's the problem. There's no coconuts. There's no pineapples. There's no beautiful women on the beach. Like this island is bare. Like this island is a desert. But it'll save our lives. And then we got to sustain our lives. So we got to we got to dig some ditches. We got to plant some crops. We got to build some shelters. Like we got to build some stuff so that we don't just survive. We got to thrive. Now, who wants to go to the island with me? Now it's like, oh gosh, I can have the temporary fix of saving my life for a little while by getting on this lifeboat, or I can do the really hard thing and go plant a colony on a desert island. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
So be a truth teller. Like, that's where we're going. We're also, and then I said, now listen, if you're not swimming the island with me, walk out of the room. You can still pick up your scholarship check. I ain't getting you off the team. But whoever's going to the island is going to the island. And that's what we're doing. And, you have these moments where you're trying to fix football, but you're trying to fix your people too. And you're trying to get people to buy into something and say, listen, I'm okay with not getting the immediate reward for doing hard things and doing the right things. I know we may have to wait for this, but just imagine, I ended with this, just imagine. Now we planted those crops. Now those trees have grown high. Now we have cool shelter. Now we have running water.
You have women?
Some of them want women.
Okay, good.
My wife's coming. She's going to swim with me. But if you can somehow cast a vision that we can build something from a desert island into a beautiful island, that's winning and losing. And we'll win eventually if we all swim to the island and start digging ditches.
Yep. So where is the mentality of this football team, the leadership and the mentality of this football team? How's that working from the inside out?
I think we need to grow alpha leaders. I don't want them to try to be alpha leaders when they're not. And that's the danger. Sometimes you push a young person to be something they're not. I don't want to push them to be something they're not. But we definitely lack the moral authority, the guy that will work against the grain, the guy that will push against the culture, the negative culture and cultural influences. We have good leaders. We have good kids. Their hearts are good. Their work ethic is good. I mean, 1 in 3 on a Sunday night, last night, you would expect it to just be woe is me. And it was, how do we get better?
Yeah.
Whether it was a walkthrough, whether it was routes on air, whether it was what we call our blood bowl, which was our developmental scrimmage. Like, we have a developmental scrimmage. Last time it was a little shorter because we're beat up. But, we go live football with these developmental players. And our team, the guys that played, are like on the field, like around them, cheering, high-fiving, chest bumping, awesome. Like, and I use this to, one, I think it flushes whatever happened on Saturday, win or lose. It's just like, that's the final time we're going to talk, we're done with it. Mm-hmm. But also just shows like a 6-year senior that just played 70 snaps and he's jumping up and down because a freshie just made a great tackle. Or a freshie made a big time catch and ran somebody over. Yeah. And he's celebrating. I think that's part of what we're trying to grow. And I see it on a Sunday night. I'm like, okay, we're all swimming the island. We're on the island. Now we got to see some fruit from these trees that we planted in terms of wins and losses. And nobody's more miserable than me. And my wife will tell you when we lose. But I also have the job. I have to stay consistent. So whether I'm in front of Mark, in front of the president, in front of the media, in front of our fans tonight at Buffalo Wild Wings, in front of my players, in front of my coaches, I learned this from Tony Dungy. Like, you have to be you. Like, I am me. I'm unapologetically me. Sometimes me drives people crazy, but I'm going to be me because those people need me to be the same every day.
Well, and your wife should be happy. She's going on a nice vacation to an island.
Yeah.
With a bunch of football players.
You guys can go. You guys can join us if you want. Right, I'm going to put you in charge of architecture. How about that? You plan.
This would be the best thing I could do.
You do the hiring and firing from the island.
I can carry
Hopefully
stuff.
we'll do that right after we go to Pearl River Resort. We can do that. Ooh. Take a plane from Pearl River, and then, which brings, of course, our hot topic of the day. You guys ever watch All in the Family?
Loved it.
Years
ago. It was a fantastic show. Yeah, you're probably a little young.
Meathead.
No, I watched it.
Meathead.
It was one of the greatest TV shows. Norman Lear, of course, has passed away last year. Was one of the best. We're going to do all in Trent Dilfer's family. And all in Mark Ingram's family, all in Tony Curry's family.
Good enough.
And all in Whoever's family. We're going to do that in our hot topic coming up in a few minutes. Brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health, and of course the fun folks at Pearl River Resort. We've got the Tulane Green Wave. They've lost to Oklahoma, K-State. They're 3-2 in the season. Let's kind of cross over that game. What's the first thing that kind of scares you about this football team? Where can you take advantage?
They're Summerall does an incredible job as a recruiter. He did at Troy. He's done it at Tulane. They're tradey, meaning they're long and strong and thick and powerful and explosive. So that just it looks like a Power 5 football team. They're going to get off the bus and they're going to look like a Power 4 football team. They play really hard. Like, there's a cultural piece to what he did at Troy and what he's doing here, where you are just non-negotiably, you're going to play with your hair on fire. They're trying to break your face mask. They're super physical. Now they are what they are. They don't lie to you on film and do one thing and show you something. Like Navy, everything Navy did to us before that game was a lie. Then they come out and told you the truth, and you're like, okay, thank God we have iPads. You know what I mean? Like, that was a lie. Everything we saw up to this, that was smoke and mirrors. This is what they're really going to do against us.
Yeah.
This team's going to line up in their mint defense, and they're going to break your face. And they're going to play 3 coverages, you know? So at least you know what you're getting. Offensively, they're going to run the ball down your throat, and they're going to play action pass, and they're going to spit the ball out to fast guys on the perimeter, and they got a young quarterback that is super talented. But you know what you're getting. You're not getting triple option, right? You're not getting a lot of this stuff that you're like up all night going, gosh, do we have an answer for this? Like, we have on paper answers. So what they wanted to do is become a dude versus dude matchup. Like, our dudes are better than your dudes. I think it's a great opportunity for our dudes to stand up and say, no, we're dudes too. Our record doesn't show that we're dudes, but we got 6'5", 308 that can run too. You know, and we got 4'3" that can run too. And we got this, and we've recruited well too. So that's going to be the challenge tomorrow is like, hey, dudes, go be dudes.
Go be dudes.
Yep.
I love it. This is the Inferno. He is the man. He's going to join us every single week as we get ready for another big football game this weekend. Head coach of the UAB Blazers, of course, Andy Kennedy will be joining us a little bit later on for the Inferno as we get closer to basketball season. So I'm got a friend of mine I do radio with, right? And so he's going to the Alabama-Georgia game. He's got the best seats in the house. And on the right side, he's got his girlfriend. And on the left side, he's got his 32-year-old son. The girlfriend, they've got buildings at Georgia's campus named after her family.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's how black and red she is. And then his son spent 7 years at Alabama. And
he's right in the middle of this.
So why would you want to put yourself in that predicament? Because obviously you can't make both sides happy. Now, I'm a guy and I'm single, so I'm thinking to myself, you know, I love my son. It's unconditional love. I want to make her happy because I'm going to be going home with her, not him. So there was that course of about 49 seconds or whatever where Georgia got up a point and then Alabama came back and scored again. And so then I'm over in Clemson. You know, my son goes to Clemson. And I fully support my son. And I'm like, you know, there's some huge football games on. I said, you sure you want to go to this Clemson-Stanford game? Squad about
East Coast
Stanford
versus West Coast.
Stanford's not
collide.
an ACC team. It just wasn't
like the
right.
black and white
I knew they were
cookie.
going to blow them out, and they did. I'm like, but I did. I went because I'm his father, right? So I wanted to talk about Trent Dilfer's family, and of course I've heard the miraculous, unbelievable, loving story about your son. I know about your daughters. I've done a little research, and I know I've seen your family multiple times. Sure. I have 2 sons, but I wanted to know how much of your life, how much of your professional life, how much of your coaching styles and things do you share with your grandsons or your daughters, or how big of a part of the life when you were on the road? I'm not sure how old they were when you were in the pros, but how often are they part of that? I love when you invite, you know, your children, your grandson to come sit up with you. I think that's fantastic. I love those things. You don't see that very often. But as you bite down on your glasses,
well, I'm trying to give the short answer. Like, this could be a 2-hour show. I'll give you like the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, he's asked you like 19 questions.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start when I was a player. My family watched my career end on a 3.5-minute knocked out cold concussion. They thought I was dead. So the girls come in, and I don't remember any of this. I've been told this. The girls come in when I come to my senses kind of in the back cave of Candlestick Park, and they're all just melted down, like bawling.
Yeah.
This was 2007, so Maddie was, my oldest was 13, I think. I think she was born in 96. Math. So like 13, 10, 7. These little girls staring at you, bawling. And that's why I didn't, you know, I had this opportunity to get into management in the NFL, coach in the NFL, and the decision was made rather quickly that they've chased me around. They've watched this. It's my job to chase them around. It's my job to be home. So I'm gonna take a job where I can actually be home. In NFL management, you're never home. NFL coaching, you're never home. College coaching, you're home very little. So that was the decision to go to ESPN. I think that shaped the rest of my answer.
Gotcha. Which
was my TV career. They thought it was okay. Like, they didn't realize that, you know, millions of people were watching whatever I said on TV.
Were you more famous on TV than you were on the football team?
100 times more.
I can see that.
And 100 times more recognizable.
Well, they see your face. You don't have a helmet on. Yeah.
So they were more caught up in what color tie I wore than what I said, And it was cool for them because I would red eye on Saturday nights. Yes, I'd miss Sundays, but Sundays for a junior high school kid is pretty much go to church, catch up on your homework, see some friends, right? So they were kind of busy on Sundays. Monday they're at school. They had a practice, and then I was either home, private Monday night or first thing Tuesday morning because I'd gained the 3 hours going back to the West Coast. So I'd go to lunch, see them at lunch, pick them up from school, whatever on Tuesday. So I was very involved in their lives. When I went to Lipscomb to coach, my youngest daughter Delaney, who was in high school at the time in Texas, she said, "Dad, I'm all about this if I can be a part of it. I want you to teach them what you've taught us." And that was kind of like the same. Wow. That was the line of line of demarcation that I decided, okay, I'm going to coach like I parented because I've had affirmation from my daughters how I had parented. And part of that was transparency. Part of that was honesty. Part of that was admitting my faults when I was wrong. I think that earned a trust level with my kids so that, when they asked me a question, they knew I was getting the truth. Hey, you're awesome. Okay, they could believe they're awesome. Or no, that is not our standard. Okay, I believe he's telling me the truth. I think I'll Coach Hat, which John Gordon wants me to write a book about, which came really from my daughter, which was I was always dad first. I was daddy to girls. Because Maddie had told me, "Dad, you just need to always start with being daddy. Sometimes we just need to throw up on you. Verbally throw up on you, emotionally throw up on you. You've lived this, right? And you got to own it as daddy. We'll ask you to be coach." So we had this coach's hat, and I'd physically put on a hat. And they knew now the deal was whatever they asked me, I'm going to answer as a coach. And there were some brutal conversations like, quit your whining, quit being a little brat. Be a better teammate, work harder, whatever it is. And they would own it because they asked for it. So when I went into coaching, I kind of took that style. And part of that's, building your staff, building your players. But I always realized that I got to answer to Delaney because she's the one that was watching me. And she's still to this day, "Hey, how'd team meeting go today? What'd you do? Like, what are you trying to do to get better? Hey, how are you going to get them back? How are you going to get everybody to the island?"
Nice to have somebody checking.
So she's literally vetting my coaching style. Now, she is coaching now. She's a first-year coach in Madison, Alabama, coaching girls volleyball. And I said, "Are you doing it my way?" She says, "No, I'm finding a hybrid of how you do it and how I want to do it because I'm dealing with girls, you're dealing with boys. But I have taken a lot of how you've parented us and applied it into my coaching." And so we talk a lot. My oldest is kind of out of, but no, she's a parent. And then the middle's playing professional volleyball. So this one's really interesting. The middle one, Tori, she played for one of the great college coaches out there, Danny Blessboom Kelly at the University of Louisville. And I call them the two Dans, the two assistants. So I have actually stole a lot from them. So I picked Tori's brain a lot about what they did at Louisville because they went to the Final Four. They produced multiple All-Americans, including my daughter. So I've kind of picked her brain more, and I've called those coaches on some different things. Even though we're in different worlds, there's some principles there. Tori's more empathetic with this because Tori's been on really good teams or she's been in a building program. And right now in professional volleyball, they're building something at Columbus. We're building something at UAB. So Tori and I kind of talk about like a lot of culture stuff, a lot of right kind of fit stuff, like these esoteric conversations about building something, where Delaney's more like, what'd you do? How'd you say it? What are you doing today? What's your practice plan like? Like, how are you getting after them today? Like,
do they have coaches' hats like you did?
I don't know if they're doing coaches' hat. I'm doing dad hat.
I'm gonna get me a hat on the way home today.
Yeah.
Just like I want to play that card.
So they're very involved. Long. I'm trying to make that short, but they're very involved in and very invested in what we're doing, and they're the biggest UAB fans in the world because their daddy's the head coach.
It's fantastic. I love it. You want to add anything to that, Dad? Because I've seen you with your kids everywhere. And I've asked you, I think I've asked you on the coach's chair several times because I see you have to go to everything. You have to go to the badminton thing. You have to go to the football game. You have to go to the volleyball thing. And I mean, every time I go somewhere, I see you at those things. And I know you bring your family with you.
But my kids were always really busy. And if they didn't have their own thing and I was going to a soccer game or a volleyball game or whatever, a lot of times it's the only time I would have to spend with them.
Yeah.
You know, so I might say, hey, come with me to this if they didn't have homework, you know, as they got older. But they just grew up in that. They didn't really ever know any different than that.
Yep.
They've come. There's nothing they have not attended.
The Inferno is brought to you by Pearl River Resort. We're going to wrap it up right after this.
Are you getting sacked by monthly fees on your checking account? Trent Dilfer here, head coach of the UAB Blazers. Legacy Credit Union's everyday checking account can get you back in the game. No minimum balance, no monthly fees, and get paid up to 2 days early. Check out LegacyCreditUnion.com for more information and apply today. Legacy, the official credit union of UAB.
Back at you, Mark Ingram, of course, the UAB athletic director, Trent Dilfer, the UAB head coach. I'm Tony Currier, host of the Inferno. We do this show every single week. This is originally supposed to be a show with you and Andy, and it will be. We're going to have you both in here at the same time as we get close to the basketball season. But thank you for being so candid. Wishing you the best. Got full support of everything in this room. Obviously, your fan base is rooting for you, and hopefully we get a big win against Tulane this week.
High noon.
Yeah, high noon. Should be good, and it's a home game. UAB always plays well at home, so get after it, go down and get your tickets, and hopefully the weather's going to be fantastic, feel a little more like fall, something like that. And it'll be October.
Hopefully that flips the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
It'd be nice if it didn't rain. It'd be the first game of the season it didn't rain.
Really?
We had an hour-long storm delay at the first game with 60-mile-an-hour winds blowing tents over. And then Saturday against Navy, before the Navy game, it was this misting rain that was not part of the forecast. It just rained all up until kickoff.
And it rained on our parade.
It was crazy.
But we flushed it. We're ready to move on.
Let's get after it. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again next week right here on The Inferno. This episode of The Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Call an early weekend and head over to Pearl River Resort, where it's always no work and all play at Silverstar, Golden Moon, and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. And be sure to catch the big game excitement at Timeout Lounge.